This is Greg Pass with the Americans of Wartime Experience. Today's date is February 25th, 2022, and I have the pleasure to speak with First Sergeant Nathan Bontrager.
Yes, sir.
Giddy up. We are in Arlington, Virginia, and thank you for spending time with us today. I appreciate it. Can you tell us your full name and where you were born?
Yes, name is Nathan Bontrager. I was born in Iowa City, Iowa.
And I'm sorry.
Now reside here in Virginia. So,
and the branch of service, and what's your position here?
so United States Army active duty. Currently serving in headquarters company, 4th Battalion, 3rd Infantry Regiment.
And where you said where your home is right now? You live nearby?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I live down in Springfield, Virginia.
Okay.
So I've been calling that home now about the last year and a half.
Outstanding. So tell us about the schools you've attended and the training you've gone through.
Attended obviously basic training like every other soldier, but done air assault, airborne school, SEER school, along with several instructor-based schools, being a TRADOC platform instructor, as well as did sniper school, and those are kind of, I guess, the big ones, if you will.
And what units did you serve in prior to being assigned here in Arlington?
So first duty assignment was 1st Ranger Battalion in Savannah, Georgia, and then I was up at Fort Lewis with the Stryker unit there, along with 10th Mountain. I was there for about 6 years. That's probably my longest duty station, and that was actually at Fort Polk with 10th Mountain. And also served in headquarters, Department of the Army, Pentagon, working in an operations center just across the way here from Arlington for several years. And then 101st as well, deploying with them to their last deployment to Afghanistan in 2018. And then came back here, worked at a task force job for about a year before coming to the Old Guard. About a year and a half ago. I'll be at the Old Guard here 2 years, 1st of July.
And so what is your position here at the Old Guard? And tell us about your daily activities.
Well, currently a 1st Sergeant here in the Old Guard, which is, it's my pleasure to serve here. It's just like health, welfare, and care of the soldiers. Just staying on the daily operations as things happen here in headquarters company. There's a lot of different things going on with having the Tomb of the Unknown. The soldiers here got their daily mission, which is, it's the same every day, but there's definitely some things change as ceremonies come and go, or last minute things happen that they need to adjust to. So it is the same, but they got to adjust frequently to the daily mission. And on top of that, the Army drill team, who runs an entirely different mission, and it does a different outreach, I guess you will, for the Army, going around to a lot of different events, ranging from NFL games to recently just returning yesterday from train up in South Carolina, where they did some isolation training with new drill team members to get them ready for this upcoming season of ceremonies and outreach for the United States Army. And then the other element there is then having the staff for headquarters, 4th Battalion, just all the little working pieces that involve the staff in the daily operations they do, which is really doing the personnel stuff to the planning of events as they come up for mission within the battalion and the regiment, the things they go through to get it out to all the companies and the battalions, to kind of involved with them and making sure they can do what they need to do.
So how did you end up here? How did you end up being the 1st Sergeant of the unit? And was this something that you aspired to do a few years back? Tell us how your journey to get to the position you're in right now.
I guess it was kind of by chance. I think a lot of it it started a couple of years ago. I think first getting that position in the Pentagon, though that's not wherever I saw myself, having been always been an operational infantry guy out in Force Com. coming to this area was definitely a bit of a shock, because I was used to always being with line infantry units and doing deployments. So being local and then going to a task force job here. I guess back up. I went to the 101st, so we did a geographical bachelor separation with my family. They stayed here, and then it just worked out where I came back to a task force job at the 100 or after the 101st, after doing a year there to get additional first arm time. It worked out with infantry branch that there were openings, and originally took my first company here at Commander-in-Chief's Guard, Sync. So did a year there before coming down to headquarters company, where I'll stay for the foreseeable future.
Gotcha. So keeping in mind that a lot of people that are watching this video might not be veterans,
Mm-hmm.
active duty, they might not quite understand the operations that go on here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what operationally, what happens here at the Tomb of the Unknown? If I'm a brand new visitor here, what do I expect to see? And then we're going to get into a little bit about the ceremony that occurred last year, I believe it was in November.
Yeah.
So walk us through exactly where we are, what it is that you guys do, and what it means to America.
So, I mean, right now we're sitting in the Tomb of the Unknown, the quarters, if you will, where the soldiers, when they're on their duty, where they reside, and they get ready. Usually they're here about 5 in the morning, really till 5 the next morning, when based off their schedule. It's really kind of like a firefighter schedule, if you will, and the way it plays out during the 7-day work week. So with that being said, they spend a lot of time in quarters here when they are on shifts. And this is where all the preparations happen with their uniforms, where they go through their own training for the tomb when they're working with their squad leader and the platoon sergeant to get ready to go out on the mat. So, I mean, everything they do here is earned. So when you do see them out there, and it's perfection to the public, you know, they worked their way to get there. So sometimes that's, 6 to 9 months. It's a progress to get there, and then even earning the tomb badge. So now, even after they've gone through all the tests that they do internally within the platoon to earn the tomb sentinel badge, they have to finalize that now with a board where they actually appear in front of the regimental commander and battalion commander to be presented and earn that badge, which is obviously something the soldier cherishes, from the day they get it to, I think, really the entirety of their life, as we have a lot of tomb sentinels return here, from 10, 20 years ago, who still have that tie to the tomb. So I think it's a lifestyle for them, and I think one that asks a lot for them. So the American public probably does not see all the busy work going behind the scene, as they get prepared to go out there on the mat and do their duty. But I think what the American public does see out there is just the training and the individual confidence level that really puts out this, I guess it's a form of public outreach out there as they guard the tomb. So yes, they're guarding the Tomb of the Unknown, but they're also giving a visual to the American public that I don't think you can find anywhere else in the United States Army or the military. There's only one Tomb of the Unknown. This is it. And what you see out there, that's the standard for the tomb, standard for the Army. So
tell us a little bit about this flower ceremony that was held here, and your role in the ceremonies that occurred.
So with the tomb centennial, the plans and part of that started, more than a year ago. And as I came on to the role here, I just started to understand, where those, in May, the plans were already kind of being talked about, and finalized what that would look like, and then even leading up to a few months out. So my involvement there would have been some of the meetings we did to review potential adjustments we had to make here at the tomb for both the tomb sentinel, but also for the American public to cycle them through here in a way that would allow the most amount of people who to get through the tomb, and starting at like 9 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. Like, we're anticipating so many thousand people. How do you get them through without delaying or disrupting other operations here in the ANC Arlington National Cemetery? So those actions were discussed many times in many meetings. So I say that involvement there and giving the kind of shaping that part of the operation was probably one of my key things I discussed there.
So you mentioned adjustments. I understand that the mat was moved to another location. Is that correct?
Yes,
Tell
sir.
us about that and how it impacted operations.
It really, the biggest impact, the soldiers really adjusted easily to it. So I wouldn't say impact in the sense of anything negative. We talked about different ways we could do it, but the final one where it was moved to the front of the tomb there, and allowing for the public to actually walk where the normal mat area would be, so they could lay the flowers at the tomb. I'd say it went pretty flawlessly. So the impact was they had to do some adjustments to the routine, but as a whole, I don't think there was no detrimental effect as far as the tomb, their operations and stuff. It was just a slight change for those 48 hours. And then with that, as we'd have to stop the public briefly to do a sentinel change, that happened very quickly, and that we were able to continue the flow of the public as they would come out there with the flowers. And so really, I think everything came together quite well.
So I understand the way that it was set up in November brought the Sentinels and the public closer together.
Yes.
What was that experience like? Was that did the soldiers enjoy that? Did they get better feedback that way?
No, they did. Talking to some of the soldiers, they actually liked that part, that closer part, the involvement with the public. And I think there's a lot of things to that. So like coming out of the spring, when I first got down here, a year ago, there was a lot of COVID restrictions. There was a point where there was no public here. The tomb was not open to the public. And so going into spring last year, then going up all the way to the tomb centennial later in the fall, you saw that kind of increased contact with the public as things returned to more of a normal function here at the tomb, being around the public. So having people, the first part was having people back at the plaza, which was something for them to kind of readjust to, which obviously happened earlier in the year. But then as you get to the centennial and the actual execution of that event, you had that increased closeness. And I think it just kind of gave them more of that connection, especially during the centennial, like where it just felt like there was a lot of moving parts, but also a lot of it was our involvement. It was the public involvement. It was like its own living and breathing event. Like nobody knew how it was going to go exactly. We could plan all we wanted, but when the actual execution happened, and we can't control what the American public does. We can only control what we do. It just seemed to flow naturally, and everybody came up, presented the flowers, presented like whatever rites or respects they wanted to do with the Tomb of the Unknown. And I felt like those pieces synced up with what our sentinels were doing. And I don't know if you could have done it any better.
So in your position, I assume, or I might not be right, do you actually do this yourself? Do you walk the mat?
No, I do not, no.
But obviously you observed what was going on, I would assume. I take it the public was pretty happy to be able to get that close and be able to participate. Were people respectful? Can you tell us about some of your memories from your observations watching the Sentinels walk?
So I think with the American public getting that close, whether you've never been there or you've been to the tomb several times, as a public, or just even a military member, even if you've worked at the tomb, but now you're no longer working here, and you're kind of kept back with the chains and you have your area you can go around the tomb. It just kind of allowed for a different experience. So by then actually being able to come across the plaza and be that close to the tomb is something that people had not experienced before, unless you've served here at the tomb or in the old guard. I think it was a different look for somebody that, whether you've been here 100 times or one time. It was a whole different experience. And then just I think it was a once in a lifetime chance. You know, you got a 100-year centennial for the Tomb of the Unknown, World War I. I mean, this doesn't come around, you know, for another 100 years. So I think just the overall involvement for the public and the Tomb Sentinel himself was an experience that, you know, you can't replicate.
So special groups, I assume you had people coming from all over the place to see this. Did you have any VIP groups or veterans groups that came that stood out in your mind as being unusual or extra special to have here? World War II vets, did you have any groups?
There were some World War II vets. Saw a lot of veteran groups come in. You know, some in wheelchairs. So that was one of the considerations when we did do this. Was like, all right, we knew we were going to have probably a large veteran turnout, and you know, going from our Vietnam vets all the way back to our World War II vets, different, you know, walking physical abilities, depending where they're at in their life. So that was one of the considerations when we, for the access through the plaza, was like, how will people with wheelchairs, people with certain disabilities be able to enjoy this event as well? And so by accessing from the left side, going across to the right, exiting the plaza, allowed for those groups to access. And you would see, you know, the older World War II vet, and there was some, you know, they have like an old uniform on, like their old, like, I'm gonna say old World War II dress uniform on, and World War II veteran hat, and that was cool to see. Just that individual, or might be a group of 2 or 3 people who otherwise, you know, may not have come to the tomb, but like they knew this was a special event, and they made the effort to come wherever they came from in America. And there were people from all over, not just local to Virginia, DC, and Maryland. People from all over the country came. And so I think it was something that just kind of gave them that push, like, oh, I need to go experience this event, because who knows when this is going to happen again.
Gotcha. So obviously the Sentinel can't be having conversations with the public, right, while they're doing their job. Is there other opportunities that your men and women have to, I don't want to say mingle, but at least have conversations with the public and get feedback from the public during this event? Was there opportunities like that? There is.
And so just like the normal daily operations here, there's always tomb guards out whenever there's a guard change. We call it tog attire, but it's a specific tomb polo with the tomb emblem on it and khakis. Professional look, but they're out there. They're able to actually interact with the public there, have discussions, you know, quick questions and answers, and we probably had an increase of that during the centennial. So manning within the tomb, and even with our headquarters company, key leader involvement, being out there to assist the American public as they, you know, waited, sometimes hours. You know, they might go down the line of that group that's been there for an hour. You know, they're wrapped all the way around the tomb, talking to them, or even when they're getting ready to go out. You know, people would get nervous. Hey, what do I do with this flower? Do this, you know, just give a little guidance, because there were people that actually get a little nerves walking out there to lay the flowers. So there was that interaction, or they might, you know, ask them about that soldier's individual, like, oh, how long have you been at the tomb? You know, do you work here? Those type of questions regarding their experience in the Army. So it allowed for more of that, but I will say that does happen on a somewhat daily basis, and We also had some special groups come in for tomb briefs that were arranged through the old guard. So some VIP groups they'd come down, they'd get a full tomb brief, but just there was natural discussions that happened out there in and around the plaza.
Gotcha. So remember I was talking before about trying to explain, like, people want to understand what goes on?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one I really don't understand, so please explain this. The Crow Nation Honor Guard, what is that, and how did that play a role here for the ceremonies?
So that goes back historically to when they did the entombment here 100 years ago with World War unknowns, and the Crow Nation was part of that. My general understanding was that part of that original ceremony was kind of a blessing of the spirit, using the Crow Nation traditions that originate with them and bringing that there to bless the fallen U.S. soldiers, the unknowns. Now fast forward 100 years, that being a key part to the original entombment of the unknown, and here we are honoring the unknown 100 years later. That was a key public outreach to bring them back to the beginning of the 2 days that the tomb was open, or for the centennial and the flowers, to bring them here at the beginning of it, where they enacted the exact same ceremony in honoring the tomb, honoring the unknown from World War I, and blessing the unknown. So to me, that was a symbolic piece connecting over 100 years ago, the original entombment, to here we are honoring them again 100 years later.
So yesterday I had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Hamring, and he had described he did a speech, I think it was in the late 1990s. He described the tomb as being unique.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that? And if so, why is this place so unique? Why is it so important to America?
Well, I think when you start with anything unique, you kind of associate there's not too many of that thing. Well, there's only one of these. There's only one Tomb of the Unknown, and so there's only one place you can find it here in Arlington National Cemetery. It's directly honors our unknown war casualties. And with that being said, there's no other tomb sentinel guards that are done the way it is elsewhere in the military. Like, this is the only place you'll find soldiers preparing to go out every single day, 365 days a year. You know, whether it's raining, whether it's hot out, whether it's snowing, what have you, they're always here. They're always on guard. And so that in itself is unique. And I think it's also unique in which it allows the American public to access the American soldier, because you are seeing current soldiers currently serving in the military, many with different backgrounds, different experiences. And even if no word is said during during a guard change, or somebody observing the actual guard walk the mat, there's just that interaction that I think a lot of people have, is like, wow, this is very special to see. It's unique to see for that individual in the American public. And then there's, I guess, an unsaid I think connection that happens when people get to see the sentinels. So that's what makes it unique, I guess, in my mind.
Well said. Well, to wrap it up, we're videotaping this right now, and you'll get a copy of the video, and you'll also be given some instructions on how to submit to the Library of Congress, not too far from here, from the Veterans History Project. Theoretically, this video will be there for hundreds and hundreds of years, so one of your great-great-great-great-grandkids might stumble upon it. What would you want them to know about your service to your country, and specifically what an honor it is to be able to participate in such an honorable, I don't even want to say unit, organization that you're participating in? What does that feel like, knowing that you have such an impact on something that means so much to Americans?
Well, I guess for me, the when I look back at my time in the Army, service to this country, has been the individuals I've been able to serve in or serve with. So ranging from 1st Ranger Battalion all the way through 10th Mountain and deployments, and now here I am with headquarters company, and I have the Tomb of the Unknown, working with these soldiers. I don't know if there's, it just kind of ties everything together. Like every day I come down here, I'm able to see special soldiers, and also just brings back memories of other soldiers, veterans I've got to work with that still like have a special place, I guess, in my heart, in my mind. And this place just kind of, I guess, captures all of that, because I've been able to experience all those emotions that I had while, thinking, wow, this guy's really awesome, or this gal, they're just great to work with, and I'll carry that forward, carry with me forever, whether deployed or not. But here, just seeing the way things are done, the way what's asked of them. There's been many times, like just in the back, whether it be Memorial Day with the president here, Veterans Day with the president, and the Centennial, it just brings like a feeling, a sense of pride that is specifically linked to that individual as they get ready to go lay a wreath, go walk the mat, or interact with that high visibility, that just is the high visibility piece of the tomb that you can only find here. Just seeing them walk out there is just, I guess, it just makes you feel a lot of pride and a sense of like, hey, this is amazing, this is great, and there's nothing better than that.
Outstanding.
So,
Gentlemen, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, I think you did a great job. And the only thing I usually say something like this: is there a question that you wanted to have asked, that you hoped would be asked, that would allow you to say something that you really want to share?
No, I think the questions are generally there. It's probably more so how I go back and think, how did I answer that, or did I how badly did I fumble through that? Because in the end, is what I really want to is like capture, like the public's experience, but also the soldiers' experience. And I, just like we talked about right there, I think the biggest thing I can think back to, like earlier in the year when we did especially coming out of COVID and going back to like ceremonies again here at the tomb. We did the Memorial Day one, and seeing Sergeant Porterfield go out, knowing that's like the first wreath that's been laid in a while with the president, just that swelling of pride all the way to coming up to the Centennial, just knowing all the work that went on. And I guess the biggest thing I threw out there is like the iconic picture you had at the end, like at the end of day one, with the flowers facing out, the way they were arranged, like that was not planned. Nobody knew what that looked like. That was literally the soldiers here at like 8 o'clock at night, taking the thousands of flowers that had already been laid there during the day, turning them back out. And then here we all come down at like 7, 8 in the morning that day with the sun rising behind it. And I still have those pictures. And I know like PAO caught a lot of that, just that individual picture that can never be replicated. But there was no plan how that would look.
All right, let me just ask you this. As the first sergeant of Honor Guard Company, directly in the line of leadership and responsibility for this mission at the tomb, how did that make you feel, seeing your people perform so beautifully and so flawlessly at that moment? I mean, but other moments as well. How did that, as the first sergeant, and with recognizing your background, you're all Army for a long time, how did that make you feel for a sergeant?
Again, it goes back to the pride in the soldiers, the pride in the platoon, because I know what goes on down here. I know what goes on with the individual soldier here in the platoon. So just seeing their ability to adjust to the unknown and just capture this like huge moment in the history of the tomb, the 100-year centennial, like they did everything and then some. So they went above the call of duty, I think, to make this the best event it could be. And it ended up being that just that perfect.
That's
And
what tomb guards do.
it is. They achieve perfection, and they didn't even know they were achieving it. And then the next day, everybody's just like, wow, look at the way the sun's coming up. And I think that will be in the history books forever, that picture. But what you won't see is, what the soldiers were doing, even as they'd been out there all day walking the mat. Obviously the public is now gone. This is now in the evening hours, but here they are, still making things happen. And there's no guidance given. They're just doing it. So they did it up by themselves. They did it on their own, and I couldn't be more proud of that. So.
Outstanding. Well, on behalf of the Americans in Wartime Museum, thanks for spending time with us today. More importantly, thank you for your service to our country.
No, I appreciate it. Oh, thank you.